Christians are struggling with hearing God's voice. Why? Because most people are afraid of silence. We live in a society where it is completely normal to fill every moment with noise, music, podcasts, screens, scrolling, because silence feels like nothing is happening. But biblically, silence is often where everything happens. God didn't speak to Elijah in the fire. He didn't speak to him in the earthquake. He spoke to Elijah in stillness, the still, small voice. Jesus, God in the flesh, frequently withdrew from the crowds, not to escape, but to align with his Father in heaven. Jesus set an example for us to follow in our busy modern world, where everyone has an electronic leash called a cell phone. This is an example we need to take to heart more dearly and more imperatively. People today need to learn how to be alone with their Father in heaven, like Jesus did, to go into the silence. Not to pray endlessly with your wish list, reducing God to a genie or making him our cosmic waiter. God is not your butler. Learning how to spend time with God, with your Father in heaven, where you are silent and you patiently wait for him to speak. The best relationships, the ones that are the most secure, are where you don't constantly need affirmation from the other person, and you don't constantly need to show them how much you love them by doing something for them, and you need them to do something for you. But it's where you are able to be in a state of rest. And so many times we are told to rest in the Lord, to enter into his rest. The prophet Elijah waited for the silence, and in that silence, everything shifted. Let me clarify. This is not just about the absence of sound. It is the absence of, ultimately, distraction. Silence is not really about passive quiet. It's more about posture. It means turning off the noise, not just around you, but inside of you. It means stepping away from the world's pressure long enough to remember who you really are and whose you really are. It is prayer without striving, listening without begging. Stillness, not as a retreat, but as a weapon. Jesus didn't just teach prayer. He modeled it. I'm not talking about what is termed the Lord's Prayer here, where every Christian knows the exact words to say. And that is a wonderful framework. I'm talking about far more than the words. Let's look at the model Jesus set for us. In Mark 1, verse 35, it says, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed." This was before all of the miracles, before the crowds, before the ministry. He withdrew from everyone to a solitary place. So many people are literally afraid to be out of reach from a text or a phone call. People will literally develop anxiety, and many of you do, if you don't have your cell phone. Look at Luke chapter 5, verse 16. "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." Matthew 14, verse 23. "After he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray." The busier Jesus got, the more he withdrew. Jesus saw how crucial it was for his spirit to be focused on his Father in heaven. Amazing that even Jesus Christ regularly took time to be alone in prayer. Yet it seems very, very few people today take quiet time to not only pray, but to listen. If most believers, most Christians are honest, they are doing good to take time to thank God for their food, let alone have regular daily prayer that isn't attached to a need you're asking God to meet. Even at his most successful, Jesus retreated into the silence. not because he was tired, but because he was tuned in. And successful there, see it in air quotes, of course. Everyone at some point saw Jesus as a raging success as crowds thronged about him, and none of that changed his mission. In Luke chapter 6, verse 12, it says, before he chose the 12 disciples, he prayed all night. I have to confess, there hasn't been a single time in my life that I have spent an entire night in prayer. I've prayed for long times, and I've woken up in the middle of the night to pray, and I've been unable to sleep, so I've gotten up to pray. There's times I've prayed for a while, but I've never intentionally stayed up all night just for prayer. Have you? If you have, please share it in the comments if you're comfortable doing so. I would love to hear your story. Towards the end of his ministry, Jesus, in Gethsemane, he stepped away, even from his closest friends, to pray alone. Did Jesus Christ himself feel it necessary to spend so much time in solitude and prayer? Apparently. I highly doubt Jesus was talking the entire time it says he was praying. I highly suspect this was a time in meditation, not Eastern-style meditation, where you are simply emptying yourself. That's only half of the equation at best. John the Baptist said in John 3, verse 30, he must increase, but I must decrease. So many Christians hear the word meditation and they think of Eastern-style meditation, where you are repeating a mantra over and over, trying to empty your consciousness from your body. Biblically, we must decrease. We must root our core identity in God. And in order for him to increase, we, our pride, our ego, our bitterness, whatever is not of God, must decrease and go away. This isn't theory for me. This is something I live. I go to a place where I will not be interrupted. I set a timer on my phone, usually for about an hour, and then I put that phone on silent, face down, and I don't touch it until the timer goes off. I bring maybe a notepad and some water. That's it. I sit, I breathe, I thank God for what he's done, even for my struggles. If I notice my mind wandering, I will recite some scripture. But I'm not really there to talk. I'm there to listen, to be. And here's the thing. I always come out of this with something. Not always what I expected, but always what I needed. There was a time where I was going to give a talk, and I had no idea what I was going to talk on. It was less than a week away, so I locked myself away for an hour, and for at least 30 minutes, I was convinced I was wasting my time. Nothing was going on. My brain was going in circles. I just felt stressed that I wasn't actually doing anything. And then after about 30 minutes, I started to have ideas flow to my mind. It took time away from the distractions, from the phone, from the email, from everything else that can distract you. Time away, just like Jesus went to solitude, I needed solitude. Another example, much more recent. I went into the silence thinking about a strange health issue I'd been dealing with. Nothing serious, but odd. I wanted God to reveal what he wanted me to do. I've learned to try and not anticipate what the answer might look like, because in my mind, he would tell me of something I was doing he wanted me to stop, or reveal to me a nutritional issue. I wasn't sure. But if it were up to me for the answer, it'd be something more direct. Instead, what I heard deep in my spirit was, discipline equals freedom. Yes, the Jocko Willink line. And I knew exactly what it meant. God was calling me to get better control of my schedule. to stop letting my day push me around, that I was spending my time resting, feeling like I should be working, and my time working wasn't focused, but scattered. I was letting my focus end up stolen. I was letting my priorities take second place instead of doing the things I know I need to do first. I also wasn't properly scheduling things, but letting them take the whole day, when if I'd simply given myself an hour or a specific time frame, I wouldn't waste so much time on the task. I'm not a perfectionist, but I do sometimes have to stop myself from picking odd details to obsess over. God also gave me some habits that he wanted me to do, but not really just for me. This was for my entire family. And that reframed the whole problem. God let me have a random issue so I could course correct and grow my family's culture and habits. That's pretty cool. Have you ever thanked God that he let you have an illness? Now, some of you might ask, isn't silence a pagan or Eastern practice? Some people get nervous when they hear the word silence or meditation in a spiritual context. They think it sounds too mystical, too New Age, or too Eastern. Let me be clear. Biblical silence is not about emptying your mind to merge with the universe. It is about quieting your soul so you can hear the voice of your Father. This is not Eastern mysticism. This is Elijah on the mountain. This is David waiting quietly for the salvation of the Lord. This is Jesus telling you to go into your inner room and shut the door. Psalm 62 verse 5 says, "For God alone my soul wait in silence, for my hope is from him." That is not pagan. That is the scriptures. Now, yes, other religions also practice silence, just like other religions pray or fast or honor their parents. That does not make those practices pagan. It just means we serve a God who built certain patterns into creation, and they are ours to reclaim, not reject. If you throw out silence because Buddhists do it, then you better throw out prayer too, because Muslims pray 5 times a day. Biblical silence is not about escape. It is about encounter. You are not trying to lose yourself. You are seeking God. And he speaks in a still small voice so often. Maybe you're skeptical, which I really appreciate. I too often am skeptical and have to learn things the hard way. This isn't just spiritual. It's also physical. It's scientific. God designed you for this. A 2006 study found 2 minutes of silence lowered blood pressure and heart rate more than just listening to relaxing music. And it promoted a parasympathetic rest state. While they didn't directly measure it, that relaxation generally reduces cortisol, a stress hormone, and inflammation. Another study shows that silence helps to rewire your brain. Your brain's default mode network turns on in stillness. It's the part of your brain tied to reflection, moral reasoning, long-term planning, and identity. Silence engages the brain's default mode network and aiding in reflection, planning, and moral reasoning, as noted in a 2012 study. While silence may support brain health, claims about increasing the gray matter are more tied to meditation practices than just silence alone. And third, another study shows that silence reduces cortisol and boosts mental clarity. Reducing overstimulation, like constant phone checks, can lower your stress and improve mental clarity and focus, as research on digital detox suggests. This may support testosterone levels as well by reducing cortisol. This restores your clarity, your executive function, and your decisiveness. God's design is brilliant. Stillness leads to strength. This is not a new idea. It runs through the whole Bible. Isaac in Genesis 24 says, "And Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening." Elijah in 1 Kings 19, "After the fire came a still small voice. The power came after the silence." Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is how you know him, not just learn about him. Isaiah 30 verse 15, "For thus said the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength." Matthew 6 verse 6, Jesus says, "When you pray, go into your inner room and shut the door." Jesus taught that real prayer begins in secrecy and stillness. No audience, no performance. Your personal prayer is just you and God. Lamentations 3:25 and 26. "The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him." It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Silence is not punishment. It is the part of your prayer life that can be the most essential and effective when it comes to your relationship with your Father in heaven. So here's your challenge. In the next week, take 1 hour and do this. Go to a place you won't be disturbed. Set your phone timer and then don't look at it. Don't bring any books or anything else you'd be tempted to use as a distraction. And for these purposes, that does also include a Bible. It's just you, a notepad, and the willingness to listen. Do not try to make something happen. This is not about your effort. Just trust that God will speak to you, because He always does. If you are a Christian, if you have God's Spirit within you, then you are an indwelling of Him. You must decrease, and He must increase. The Lord is your portion. Place your hope and expectation in Him. And maybe, like Elijah, you'll hear something. Now, it could be something big, or it could be something very small. You could have a revelation, or maybe you'll just spend some time enjoying the presence of your Father, which is delightful in and of itself. Regardless, doing this regularly, like Jesus did, can change the course of your life. King David wrote, "Be silent before the Lord and wait expectantly for Him." Psalm 37, verse 7. This is where you remember who you are and whose you are. Go into the silence. Your Father is waiting. If this stirred something in you, do not stop here. I want to give you something that will help you build spiritual strength the way an elite soldier trains his body, with intention, with discipline, and with results. Remember, run the race as someone who intends to win. It's called the 5 Pillars of Kingdom Courage. These are not vague ideas. They are specific time-tested disciplines to help you feed your faith daily, speak life with authority, take spiritual ground in prayer, and walk with people who sharpen you. And you'll also see how you can obey God quickly before doubt talks you out of it. If you've ever felt spiritually passive, stuck, or overwhelmed, these 5 pillars will give you a foundation to move forward with clarity and power. Click the link in the description and you will be sent to a 1-pager and worksheet and a video that will walk you through the whole framework. If you're ready to stop coasting and start building, this is for you. Click the link, grab the guide, and I will see you inside.